Following the U.S. Capitol breach happening yesterday that was egged on by President Trump, a growing number of politicians on both sides of the aisle believe that President Trump should be removed from office. One of those is Georgia Congresswoman Carolyn Bourdeaux. She's calling on her colleagues to move forward with impeachment proceedings. There you see one of the tweets that she posted yesterday. And joining us is Representative Bourdeaux. Representative, great to have you back here. We are so glad that you and your team are safe throughout everything that happened yesterday. I want to get an update for our viewers on the impeachment process. I know multiple of your colleagues are also circulating impeachment papers as well. What is the process like going right now, and how far along are you on that?
Well, Baker, good to be back. As we speak, my staff is out there evaluating several different bills that are being drawn up to draw up articles of impeachment against the president. And so we are going to be signing on to something soon.
Are you optimistic that more people would sign on to this than what happened in the impeachment proceedings in early 2020, given the fact that we've now seen multiple Republicans even coming out condemning President Trump's actions yesterday as well? Are you optimistic that you might get broad bipartisan support on this?
I think there's increasingly bipartisan support for removing the president, whichever way that takes, whether it's the 25th Amendment or whether it's through impeachment. And so we'll see how things consolidate. As you know, this is a big body with 435 members, and it takes a little while for everybody to kind of get on the same page. But what we saw yesterday was an armed insurrection against the democracy, against the country itself, as this mob invaded the Capitol. And it was egged on by the president, who knew full well what he was doing when he told them to march on the Capitol. He knew full well that on social media accounts, they'd been talking about insurrection and that they were armed. And so something has to be done.
Representative, you mentioned social media. Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg announcing earlier this morning they plan to continue to keep President Trump off the platform at least until after the inauguration is over. Twitter essentially reports out there President Trump apparently removed the two tweets that were in question, meaning that his Twitter account might be reinstated within the next few hours. Are you imploring other social media platforms to take the same action that Facebook did to make sure that what happened yesterday doesn't happen within the next 14 days again?
Yeah, so let me be clear. You know, I am a strong supporter of free speech, and I do have some reservations about private companies restricting the speech of elected officials. But this is a case where the president is inciting armed insurrection in this country, where the peaceful transition of power is being really actively threatened. And so I do think this is a line in the sand, and I appreciate that the different social media companies are taking this very seriously.
I would love to get a play-by-play representative, because I know you were just elected, so this is all brand new to you, of how this happened yesterday. While you were in the chamber yesterday, how did this unfold, and what happened with you and your staff to make sure that you were all safe yesterday?
So we were in my office getting ready to go to the floor to defend the election. So of course, Georgia's electoral votes were challenged. And one of the ways that Trump was inciting the mob was saying that this was a fraudulent election, which has been debunked at every single turn. And so we were drawing up our talking points to go down and defend the election. And all of a sudden, a mass text goes out to everybody on the Capitol to immediately go to a secure location, lock down, turn off the lights, be silent, because the Capitol had been breached. And it was at this point we could see on the TV that the Senate floor was breached, and we could see my colleagues on the House floor being rushed out. Some of them were all on text threads, and so some of them were saying, they heard gunfire. There was gas, the canisters, tear gas canisters in the rotunda. So it was a very sobering moment.
Congresswoman, obviously, what happened yesterday was so. Again, nothing we've never experienced ever. We had to actually go back all the way to the history books. We haven't seen protesters storm the Capitol since the 1800s like this. How optimistic are you that the people that stormed the Capitol, broke into the Speaker's office yesterday, will be held to the fullest extent of the law after what happened yesterday?
I certainly hope that they will be. And it is a subject of some concern that we saw far more arrests, far more serious police activity around Black Lives Matter protests, around protests over the Supreme Court justices, Brett Kavanaugh. So there are a lot of questions that remain to be answered about what happened with the security around the Capitol and how we handle what happened.
And Representative Bourdeaux, this came on the heels of what was supposed to be a very good day for your party and for your state, with Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff winning those Senate races yesterday. Just to get your take on that, what was that moment like for you, seeing those runoff victories for Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff?
Well, we did have a good day all the way until about 11 o'clock yesterday. We were really celebrating those victories in Georgia. The results came in much faster than we expected. I know I talked to you about everybody being patient, but what we found out was really early on that the Democrats were really overperforming in the early vote and the absentee ballots. And so we knew pretty early on that things were looking very, very positive.
Yesterday, Speaker Pelosi said something that really stood out to me yesterday when you guys reconvened last night. She essentially said she hoped that Congress would have an epiphany about what transpired yesterday and that this would change how Congress worked moving forward in the 117th Congress. Are you as optimistic as the Speaker that an epiphany happened and that things will change after January the 20th when a new person is in the office?
Well, it does give me some hope that there are a number of Republicans who are recognizing that this is just too much, a line too far. And while I was hunkered down in my office, some of my Republican freshman colleagues called me to check in, to let me know that they were going to vote to certify the election, and that this was not acceptable. And I really appreciated that. And I think that is the foundation of a broader, more bipartisan coalition going forward, and one that I hope will stay in place so that we can get some real things done for people.
You and me both. Congresswoman, we're so glad you and your staff are safe after yesterday. That's Congresswoman Carolyn Bourdeaux from Georgia. Good to see you as always, Representative. Thank you.